Hi, Brooke.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good.
Hi again. The first session went great. Thank you so much. I'm Jennifer. I'm just going to be in the background helping to help moderate the chat. So, and there were a couple of questions from the first session. I don't know if people will come back and ask them again, but we encourage them to. So if you can, maybe 5 minutes before the end, maybe check out the chat and see if there's anything there.
Perfect. And this time I will share the screen and review the portfolio from my machine. So I think that was part of the feedback that I read before. Okay. So hi, Brooke.
Hello.
Were you in the first session or not?
I did pop in and out, and I already noticed that I feel like you'll have a lot of the same feedback on certain aspects of it. So, I mean, since other people will be joining, like, feel free to comment, but I have those notes down for future.
Perfect. So I'm gonna quickly say my background just in case we have new people in the session. So I'm Ivelisse Capellan. My background is was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico. My first language is Spanish, and I did my bachelor's degree in chemistry. I did tons of research there, and after doing a lot of research and playing with chemistry, not really playing, I decided to just jump to my master's because I wasn't able to play as much as I would like to, or being as creative as I would like to in chemistry. Also, it takes a lot of time. So I did my master's in cultural studies, and I loved it. That's when I was just exploring online and YouTube. Just show me an amazing video about UX or product design, because back then UX was like super new. It wasn't a thing. There were no degrees about it. So I just dedicated myself to read a lot and learn and watch videos and learn how to prototype back in Puerto Rico. And I moved to the US and I worked in Microsoft, in Sinclair Digital, and now at Alaska Airlines, doing a lot of product design. I've been able to work on the seats team, on path to purchase, and really designing the entire flight results and flight search experience in the airline. So a lot of cool, good work, and transitioning to UX was I think, the best experience so far in my career. So what about you, Brooke? Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, so I, for the last 8 years, kind of just after college, hopped around into a lot of different roles and industries, just trying to find my happy place. So I've done everything from customer support to executive support to sales, and then most recently booking and managing brand partnerships for social media influencers and musicians at a talent management company. And then I was like approaching being 30, and I was like, is this what I want to do with my life? Just like taking a step back to see if I was happy, like just exploring what else was out there. And I don't even remember where I found it, but I came across a video about a girl who totally transitioned careers into UX, UI design. And I was like, oh, that sounds like something I'd actually really enjoy. So joined Design Lab's UX Academy Foundations, like to see it, get my feet wet, see if I liked it and was like possibly good at it. I ended up really loving it. So then I joined the Academy, and now I'm looking for a job.
Awesome. Okay. Let's jump into your portfolio, shall we? Or do you want to jump into your questions first?
No, portfolio is perfect.
Portfolio. Let's do it. Okay, let's see if I can share my screen. Can you see the screen? All working?
Yes. I'm just going to double click it to make it bigger. Hold on one sec. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So landing at the first time in your portfolio, I really like the typography, and the size is perfect. The contrast also is perfect, is beautiful, and it's super simple. You didn't attack me with a lot of words. So I'm able to grab quickly, who are you? And then I'm gonna quickly read over here. I love problem solving and while integrated design, trying out new recipes. Oh, this is so cool. And searching for the best. Oh, I really like this intro because it gives a little bit of a hint of your personality. So I really, really like how you wrote this experience about being a UX designer. What do you do? So
Awesome.
also, this is super nice over here. Automatically, boom, I'm ready to work. So it's like if before you keep on scrolling, I'm available. So this is awesome. A quick recommendation here, just here thinking out loud, I would make or add some type of link. Currently looking for a remote work, something like my email contact, feel free to contact me. Something that's helps me to automatically click on you. Like, okay, if I want to contact her because I reviewed your portfolio 2 weeks ago, how can I do this as fast as possible, right? Like, should I go here? Should I go here? But then if I'm reading it, then it will be also accessible here if I'm already interested. So I think however you want to do it, think about it. I would recommend adding some sort of hyperlink. It doesn't have to be very loud at all, because I like the style that you have of like clean, good vibes type of thing. So I really like it. Scrolling down here. Okay. This hopping thing sometimes bother me. Let me put it on top. Scrolling down here, I think I've mentioned this before. There's a tiny risk here of what is called false floor. So you might not know that there's something else coming up. So by looking at it, how would you know that there's more to scroll, right? So I might be like, oh, okay, this is it, boop. And you might have more work to explore and somebody else might not know. So think about how can the UI structure in a way that cuts up a little bit or gives me a hint around what else is coming up in the UI, in the structure of this page. It can be by making maybe this square over here a little bit smaller, moving this over here more to the top, a little bit closer to digitizing, but not as close, so you can still have a breathing air over here. Maybe cutting this a little bit more and then start bringing this a little bit up.
That makes sense.
So that's one thing. See, once you go here, it's like, okay, maybe I'm done. So I think that goes across everything. I've seen this before in a lot of portfolios lately, and I understand what people are trying to do is kind of giving like a protagonism element into one project as it is, but still for usability, it's important for the user to know that there's more to scroll on. At least a hint. Then at the end, this is nice. You make it easy for me. See, you have over here a form. I have heard from recruiters, they hate forms, but I like that you, out of the blue, have a link to your email. I might think about this text color contrast between this background. I think it might be accessible, but I might just make this text color the same as this one. It seems like it's toned down a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's like a 60% opacity.
So I would keep it 100% opacity because it can get a little bit lost, and maybe add a little bit of spacing, because this is the most important part, your email. If they like what they saw right off the blue, if it's like any kind of recruiter, because he saw or she saw your skills right off the bat, then I would just make this as easy and clean as possible for somebody to read off, and add a little bit of more spacing here, 10 to 15 pixels, and that's pretty much it. So you made it easy. Also, I know that you have the LinkedIn over here, but maybe you can add it in context over here as well, just in case, to have it connected. That concept of how do you want them to contact you? How do you want them to move forward and get the most information in that chunk of time as easy as possible? Because right now here, as I'm seeing, I don't know where is your LinkedIn, and then I might just think about scrolling, or maybe I have to go back up. So maybe make it easier-ish by adding or contact me through LinkedIn. Oh, what is this doing? No. Sorry. Okay. So it works. Tested the link. Let's see LinkedIn. Okay, great. It opens up a new link. That's super important. That's something very important. Every link should open up a new tab. So you make it as easy as possible for the recruiter to not lose context and still being able to navigate through the other pages that you have. So right off the bat, just quick changes in your homepage. All overall, the style looks really consistent and the same as the UI and the call to actions as well. And you made the title and the view case study. Beautiful. Perfect. So let me click on here. Nice. you keep on doing the same UI style. I have a little bit of issues with this type size. Do you know what's the type size?
It's actually 18,
Wow.
but it might be maybe the font
The
that
font
I
weight.
use
It might
scale like down. I don't know.
It might be the font weight. My preference is to have it a little bit bolder, not as light.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is the light font
Yeah.
weight.
So for reading purposes, I would not recommend such a light typography. That for headers, yeah, you can play a little bit more there, but for reading, make it as easy as possible for someone to just walk through everything. Same as I mentioned before, view prototype here, I'm careful about these things. I know that sometimes you want to showcase right off the bat, this is what I did, boom. Great, but again, think about your audience and the possible rabbit hole that they might go through. Whenever they click on it, open a new tab, and then you might lose them because they might just, oh, let me see this, and let me see that, and let me see that, and wait, where's her portfolio again? So I'm recommending, if possible, moving the view prototype at the end because it's part of your results. And maybe this imagery as it is already showcasing the results of your portfolio, right? Well, this project. Tilted images, as I've mentioned before, they look nice. It just makes it a little bit harder for someone. Before it was here and then it's here, it makes it a little bit harder for someone to actually gauge and know your UI skills. Because if I want to zoom in and go deeper into what's this type size and all the, all the details in the UI, like this is a little bit harder. So I would figure out a way to place this in a vertical modal, if this is the only screen that you're going to showcase. And maybe you can bring it even closer to the project background if you want to connect that idea and flavor between this is the project and this is how it will look like without revealing all of it. Revealing, it's part of telling how do you want to tell your story. How do you want to tie it up into the user or somebody into reading your project without revealing everything, without showcasing this is all of it, right? You want them to actually keep on going through your experience. I like that you have the challenge here super summarized. I feel like it's going to get lost though, right? I feel like reading these two columns would be nice if the next column was only focused on project duration, tools, and maybe your role. Maybe your role was to do the UX or the UI or the user research. If you did user research, that's something super important to also add in your role. If you have done some sort of user research, interview people or anything related, it will be good to add it in your role. If you didn't have the chance to do it in the portfolio, in this project, it's okay. And then the challenge should be a little bit more relevant. It should be a little bit more loud. Why? Because that's what is going to tell me, what are you trying to solve? And since it's blended in with everything, I might lose context of it. So maybe moving the challenge into a more relevant area, like you have here, research, so I can read it and not lose it, it will be nicer. Goals, voila, look at this. Bullet points. It's not that it's a bullet point, it's just that it's summarized, and that's so nice. So this is great. Having it super easy for me to understand users' full process of it. See, cool. That's one of the first goals. You want to understand how the user is trying to, I don't know, utilize a cookbook. Discover what users do if they don't understand part of the recipe while cooking. Oh, that's nice. And then determine user pains when finding recipes. Okay, so this is part of the goals in the research, not part of the goals of the project, right?
Yes, but it helped me realize what I should add into the app or what wasn't as important. So yes, goals for the research, but also it like informed the rest of the design.
Okay, so definitely I would move the challenge down there because it feels completely disconnected. And I think that the goals of the user research is part of trying to find the answers around the challenge, right? How to understand the customer becomes as a result of understanding your challenge as well. So, or maybe you go back and you figure out that the challenge is not a real challenge. Okay, so user interviews. Okay, this is really cool. Okay, I like that you have these things, these cards. Right off the bat, I don't see the difference right away. So if there's a difference between this card and this card, I would add some sort of description. This card is focused to explain X, and this card is focused to explain Z. So I know what's the goal of both of them, because visually, if I don't have the time and I don't know what is this about, I'm gonna be like, oh, she probably made a mistake because she added this image again and again, right? So think about to add a quick description there. And this gets a little bit lost too. I guess that, oh, okay, this is to find more information about the whole analysis. Okay, let me click on here. Does it open a new tab? Oh yeah, cool, awesome. Market research, this is nice, cool. To view all discoveries, nice. Proposed needs, really good. Bullet points, clean and easy. Information architecture, sitemap. What from this information help you to define this sitemap?
So that was just me sketching out like the potential pages that I would include within the app and figuring out how they all might work together. So like the top line was like the main sections of the site, and then it funneled down into what people could click on once they were on that page. And through that, I ended up like, I think I totally removed one of the sections because it just seemed redundant compared to everything else. So it was just like mapping it out before going into wireframing.
Okay. So this makes me go back into the user research. I like how you highlighted the goals over here as easy as possible, but they get lost. So I would try to figure out a way to highlight the main insights. If it is a 5-4, that you can just make it as easy as possible. And these insights are the specific ones that drove me to do this extra market research, that drove me to answer these proposed needs, and drove because we found these usability issues or these user needs. Those are the main ones. Because reading, I would not expect someone to necessarily read all of these cards, right? So maybe having the highlights of the project, of insights that help me to tell the story and understand why do you do this sitemap will be really helpful. And if you want to call it out again, this sitemap was built out of trying to answer XYZ from the main needs. The discover part is trying to helps the user understand how they can find recipes faster. My recipes is a way to make a more personalized experience, so the user remembers or they can access at any time their previous recipes, right? So trying to explain the logic as short as possible around what does this sitemap is telling me that you have been able to answer before.
Got it. Okay.
But as it's possible. That's a challenge all the time. How can you make it as summarized as possible? Wireframes, I love this. This looks so nice. Just one but. When you have wireframes, I'm not necessarily following the user flow. So I'm not necessarily knowing what comes first. So it will be helpful at least some arrows or something that explains somewhere. These are the steps that I'm gonna take a look at, so the person makes sense out of your wireframes.
Okay, I like that idea.
And if you have the time to do a user flow, that will be helpful as well. Not only for here, but also whenever you're telling the story in an interview, that will be really good to show that you're thinking about building user flows and not jumping directly to a wireframe.
Okay.
UI design, I like this exploratory phase. Inspo style guide that shows your UI skills. Oh, this is super nice and clean. Okay, again here, I think having that, or at least a description, something that tells me what am I looking at, because I kind of can follow it, but then I lose interest a little bit.
Okay.
So maybe you can make this a carousel or explain, just the steps, or just highlight the ones that you feel that are the most important to explain what are you trying to accomplish in these wireframes. Homepage, and again, same thing here. Maybe you can tie this up. This is from the sitemap, this is the page. From this part of the sitemap, highlighted, and these are the page. So everything starts blend, like the story starts making a little bit more sense between the sitemap that you showed before and this imagery. What else? Same with the rest. Oh, this is cute, interesting, cool. Okay, also try to summarize the type of how many screens you want them to see to the ones that you feel like are the most impactful, because I can get a little bit lost. And also you're trying to show me the kit, but I thought that you did that before. Before was the exploration, right?
Yeah, before was just like the type and color, and then the kit included like spacing, sizing, and all the stuff.
You know, I would just then mix both of them, because at the end of the day, they're going to be part of the style guide. The type, the color, everything is going to impact buttons, the colors, the iconography, the style, everything. So I would think about it as both one thing and not separate. Unless that phase was exploratory, and this is going to tell me that you changed your mind.
Yeah, no. So in this case, would you suggest having the kit come before the screens, or
I don't see it needed.
Taking out that first part after?
I don't see it needed. The kit that you had before, this one, I honestly don't see it needed. If you want, you can explain what you have here in this intro with bullet points, but I feel like they're both so connected. I again am seeing the type ramp. I'm again seeing the color palette. So unless you want to flavor it, explaining it here, I would just avoid this first section, because this covers it all. Also super long. So think about what are the most valuable screens here that you need to showcase, right? Like, I like that you're having selectors here. Which pieces of here are actually components versus pages? Because it feels like you're blending in both. So if you're talking about a style guide, input fields, good. Buttons, good. Type ramps, good. But not necessarily the showcasing of pages, right? So take a quick look at, I don't know, Fabric Design System or Google Design System, and how they take one component and explain and talk through it pretty quick and make it as generic as possible, just to showcase components in general that are part of your kit. And over here, initial prototype. Interesting. I like this. I'm able to see how you changed. Nice. This is actually really nice. That I can actually have a comparison. This is actually really cool. But let me go back. I would highlight. I'm not a fan of showcasing this. I prefer for you to showcase the main screens that change the most. And these are the screens that initially how I was working with, because this is not information that is valuable to me. Because as soon as I click on the prototype, I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to know that you are doing a prototype. So I would just highlight here the screens that change the most. So whenever they go to the last part, they're like, oh, this is how she changed, right? Same here. And instead of showcasing view prototype, again, I think this is your time to shine. I would not use this image. I would just use the main screens that you're very proud of. The ones that you're like, these are the ones in my project. Just highlight those screens, and then keep the view prototype as well, of course, so they can go and see it. And if you can, take a mini video, a GIF of that, clicking on the prototype, that's even better, because I don't have to even click on it. View prototype click is not nice to have, because I can have an idea around your UI skills. But if you can show me a quick video and a GIF, I have an idea around what do you do, or what do you do at the end of the project. So a quick GIF, a quick video, represent your project as easy as possible. Quick feedback, there's a lot of text. I would just make it, summarize it a little bit more. Maybe these bullet points are more than enough. I'm not sure, because we don't have the time here to read it. But maybe just 2 sentences here and the bullet points, maybe that's more than enough. Because you're saying key changes to implement in terms of done, sold. Now I know what you need to change. In the future, done, sold. Now I know. So maybe I don't need to read all of that. Same here. If you can, in the final prototype, if you can add 3 screens were achieved, or something a little bit more in regards how this design actually solve the challenge that you talked at the beginning. That's what I'm expecting to see at the end, right?
Okay.
So maybe that's part of the GIF, like highlighting these areas that were the biggest pain points that you found out. And then you can add the bullet points like, boom, I was able to solve the discovery piece. I was able to solve, I don't know, the personalization, etc. And that's it. Oh, quick feedback here. Over here is always really good to try to engage the manager to jump from project to project. So I would add on some certain of button that tells me next project, previous project. So I don't have to scroll all the way up or even click on this arrow that disappeared. So over here, and I'm like, oh, okay, let me go back, right? If you have that at the bottom that tells me about your next project, I don't have to even scroll up because I'm like, oh, next project, oh, next project. And I can just keep on.
Perfect.
It's that engagement piece in your portfolio. Gamification. How can you keep them on going and actually going to the point that they want to contact you?
Totally. Okay.
Cool. Let me go back to the here and see if I have questions. Wait, how much time do we have?
I think just 4 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay. We don't have more time to cover more. It's time to stop, Eve. Okay. So do you have more questions, Brooke? And while I read also here.
Yeah, I mean, the only question I have, which I'm sure other people might have as well, is just how to stand out as somebody who's transitioning, because I feel like so many jobs are like 3 years experience, even 2 years experience. And it's like, I have 8 years of like work experience, but it's just hard to figure out how to showcase my skills without being able to do it in the interview, because I might not even get there.
Yep.
You know?
I see. I totally understand. I actually have a couple of resources here and articles that I'm gonna drop in the chat and I'm gonna showcase pretty quick. Give me 1 second. I think the number one thing that is the hardest for everybody, including myself, it's not I got it together. I'm 8 years into the industry. I know it all. No, not really. All the time that you're building new portfolios or new type of work experiences, you need to figure out how can you tell the story? How can you make it unique? And how that story actually compels people to understand who you are and how do you work as a designer. What is valuable from your skills that I would like to work with you and conquer the world together. So I'm gonna showcase pretty quick a couple of portfolios if the links work and my computer doesn't keep on blocking me. That'll be great. Because I think that's the number one thing, that it takes time. How are you telling the story in a different, compelling way? That's why I was hesitant by having the typical empathize, define, design at the beginning, because design managers, they see this over and over again, and figuring out a way to tell the story smoothly and engage the user while you're writing, it's the key. Example, you're trying to talk about cooking, I don't know, rice with beans. That's a project in the cooking area. And then you can explain the challenge was to try to figure out how I can find recipes to cook beans and rice. And then the first section would be how to figure out when to cook rice and beans, or how to find recipes. And then those headings and those titles are driving me to understand this is the section that I'm going to read about the challenge. And she's actually trying to figure out this problem. And then this next section can be something explaining, but I want to understand the culture of people or the audience that needs to cook rice and beans. Like who's our customer? And try to figure out the writing in a way and those headings that keeps me engaged, that I can see, cool, and there's a line and a topic happening. And you can convey that through headings, through writing, through breaking the UI structure, and as well in the UI. And I have one portfolio. How much time I have?
So we are at it's now time for everybody to go back to the networking session. If you have any links you want to post in chat?
Yes, I'm gonna link all the portfolios that I wanted to walk through with the best story and also accessibility and also the articles about how to tell your story in a portfolio. I'll link it right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was fantastic. And thank you for Brooke for putting yourself out there and letting everyone share the review with you. That was fantastic.
Thank
you. See you all on networking.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice meeting you.